It's 12 o'clock in California and Nevada. We happen to be in Las Vegas, Nevada today at the Las Vegas Convention Center with about 800 or 900 people. We're raising money for the kickoff of the campaign, and I appreciate you joining us on Facebook today to get caught up. I'd like to get your help. We want to make sure that we've connected with our friends and our network across the country to show the support that this effort has. I want to thank you for becoming part of my Facebook family, if you will. 900 friends on Facebook. We just passed the 900,000 mark today, and appreciate you being with us. A number of people ask me how it is I can beat Barack Obama. He, after all, is a personable, nice fella, and a lot of people like him. And the answer is that the economy is not his strong suit. He has not done the job that people wanted to see done. He took office at a time that the economy was headed south, but instead of focusing his energy on the economy, he focused his energy on his real agenda, which was cap and trade and card check and Dodd-Frank and Obamacare, and those things created greater uncertainty in the private sector, made it more difficult for small businesses and entrepreneurs to grow and to hire people. And as a result, this recession that he inherited has become a recession that lasted longer and has gone deeper than it needed to go. And I think for that reason, you're going to see President Obama turn out of office in 2012, and he will be replaced by someone who understands the economy, where someone who has experience in creating jobs, working in the private sector, will be able to get America back on track again to provide the kind of jobs and job growth and earnings growth that people expect. I actually think that President Obama has taken his inspiration from Europe. Europeans spend a lot of money, borrow a lot of money. That's what he did. When labor was in trouble, they tried to strengthen the unions. That's what he did. When healthcare had challenges, the Europeans put the federal government in charge. That's what he did. When Europeans were dealing with energy problems, they decided to raise the price of energy with cap and trade. That's what he's pushed. His is a European approach. I don't think Europe works there, let alone here. European principles won't work here. I believe in America. I believe that American principles are what led us to be the most powerful economy in the world and to do some of the greatest things the world has ever seen by one nation caring for other people around the world. American liberty and opportunity and freedom apply not just to our political system, but also to our economic system. And those principles, I think, need to be brought back into our economy to make it the most attractive place in the world for entrepreneurs to invest, to grow jobs, to bring people into this country once again who want to make a future for themselves and for their families. So I'm devoted and dedicated to strengthening the foundation of America's economy, and I'm going to spend some time talking to you in a moment from the questions that you have about our economy. But let me tell you this: I love this country. I believe it's not only got the best economic and political system in the world, I believe that America has a greatness that the world recognizes and esteems. The sacrifice of our sons and daughters, whether from the beaches of Normandy or the valleys of the Hindu Kush, those sacrifices have lifted people from the bonds of tyranny. And the American free enterprise system, with our respect for individuals, with our appreciation for entrepreneurialism and pioneering, with America's recognition that people should be able to pursue their own path regardless of the circumstance of their birth, that economic system now being applied in certain parts of the world that did not know anything like this in the past is now lifting people out of poverty. And you have people in China by the tens of millions coming out of poverty thanks to the principles of America's economy, that have lifted those individuals. So I want to thank you for joining with me today, and for standing up for American values and for the conviction that we share that by applying the principles that made America such a great nation in the first place, applying them today will restore to America the vitality in our economy that so many people desperately want to be part of. So thanks for being part of it today. By the way, if you're watching or listening in, I would sure appreciate it if you'd make an effort today to show your support for this budding campaign by sending a contribution. It doesn't have to be a lot. $5, $10, $25, you name it. Go on our website, click on donate, and put in your credit card number, and that'll make a real difference. And so I want to say thanks to you for the work that you're doing, and appreciate the willingness on your part to make a contribution. Now let me turn to some questions I've received here. I am I'm just checking in from a number of questions. I've got 5 that I'll take, and if you got more, why, we'll put some of these up in a written form. But let me just go through one by one with what we've got here. First from Vance Bryce from Central Arizona. His question is this: as president, what is your plan to stimulate the economy while maintaining a free market? How would your plan assist young people such as myself in launching careers, starting business, and paying off student loans? Let me tell you, when I go across the country, and particularly when I'm with young people coming out of colleges, I'm surprised by how many people are having a hard time finding work, even those that have college degrees. And the reason that they're having a hard time is that our president, likable as he is, our president has done all the wrong things to turn the economy around. The last thing he should have done was to put in place a stimulus that protected government. Government should have been shrunk. Instead, he protected government jobs instead of creating private sector jobs. So the right thing for America is to turn away from the policies of the last couple of years and instead say a few things. Number one, we're not going to have Obamacare as a national federal takeover of health care. We instead are going to turn health care back over to the states. Number two, we're not going to tilt the playing field towards organized labor. We instead are going to tilt the playing field towards working people. And by that I mean we're not going to have the National Labor Relations Board have a labor stooge in there that says to the state of South Carolina, for instance, you can't compete for a plant that Boeing wants to build. That's simply wrong. We want to put the states back in charge, let entrepreneurs find a more attractive environment. Let's go on with taxes. We have the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Think what that means to small business people, large business people. It means this isn't the most attractive place for them to start their business. I want to change that. I want to make this the most attractive place in the world to start their business. And then there's regulation and bureaucracy and red tape. If you overlay all of these burdens on the back of American entrepreneurs, they just can't be successful. So you've got to change the environment here, and perhaps there's an overarching theme as well I'd make mention of, and that is government has to be a partner with the economy, not a foe or a competitor with the entrepreneur and with the business person, but instead a partner. Sure, government sets the rules, writes the regulations. You have to have that for a free economy to work. But government should not become so burdensome and so overwhelming that businesses can't get going and can't expand. And that's what's happening right now. So if I were president, those are a few of the things I'd do to reignite the strength of the American economy. Let me turn to the next question. It comes from Debbie Argo Bickelhaupt from Spokane, Washington. Her question is this: Hi Mitt, I'm struggling to start my own mirror manufacturing business here in the U.S. What programs will you put in place for investors and entrepreneurs if you're elected president? Debbie, the best thing I can do for entrepreneurs in this country is to once again have an environment where instead of criticizing and attacking business people, government supports business people. My guess is you got a lot of challenges that you're dealing with as a new entrepreneur, and we make it difficult as a country for you to hire people without getting overwhelmed with paperwork. We probably make it difficult for you to get a loan. A lot of people wonder, why is it that banks are not forthcoming with loans to small business right now? One of the reasons is that Washington passed this big Dodd-Frank bill with literally thousands of pages of legislation, which is going to be followed with more thousands of pages of new regulations that affect the banking industry. And because the banking industry is so frightened about what those regulations might entail, they've held back. They're not making the kind of loans they used to make because they're afraid of what's going to happen under this Washington bill. You see, when government overreaches and lays this massive burden, in this case on the financial services sector, it makes it less able for that sector to do what we expect it to do, which is to loan money to businesses that need help. So those are just a couple of things I'd do to make it easier for you to get your business going. Number 3, Zachary Anderson from right here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Governor Romney, what will you do to help America become self-sufficient and energy independent? You know the answer to that. Right now, the American people are suffering from very high prices at the pump. At the same time, they're worried about our future energy resources. And very simply, if you want to have energy at a reasonable price, and with the security that we have the energy we need without having to depend on the cartels, then we have to be creating more of our energy resources ourselves. And you know what some of those are. You start off with oil. When the president cuts off deep sea oil drilling, you're not going to have as much oil, and so prices are going to be higher. The second area is gas, natural gas. We have natural gas in huge abundance in this country. New drilling technology has unleashed massive new supplies. Apparently a 100-year supply of natural gas has been found. We have to develop those resources so that we can rely again on American energy. Third is coal. Coal is a huge source of energy production in this country, largely, of course, electricity. About half of all the electricity in the country comes from coal. We need to have coal, clean coal technologies to power many of our power generation facilities. And by the way, nuclear is going to have to be part of the mix as well. It is now. It needs to be a larger part of the mix with modern, well-designed facilities that can be protected from, if you will, earthquake or tsunami or any event of that nature, so that we can have ample energy supplies. And then, of course, there are the renewables, the sustainable sources of energy. I love them. We want as much of those as we can get. And I recognize that they're important, that they are non-emitting in terms of greenhouse gases, but they're also going to be limited in the amount that they can provide of the energy that we need. Windmills, for instance, don't drive cars. So you have to have gasoline, carbon-based fuels to drive automobiles. And so we're going to have that full mix of wind, solar, the biofuels, as well as gas, natural gas that is, gasoline, oil, coal, and nuclear. You've got to develop all those sources. And finally, don't forget efficiency. America can be more efficient in our use of energy. We use too much energy. We use a lot more than do the Europeans, a lot more than do the Japanese, and we're going to have to become far more efficient. In my view, that's a big untapped potential source of energy security. Let me turn to the next one, which is from Craig Barnes. Craig, he says, let's see, it doesn't say where Craig is from. Sorry, Craig. It says, given your experience in business, state government, and the Olympics, what would you do if you became president to deal with the current national debt? Well, the answer is I'd cut federal spending. And you know how federal spending breaks out. There are really three big buckets. Number one is our military. And the defense budget is about 1/5, about 20% of U.S. spending. Now, I'm not going to cut the defense budget. I know there's a lot of waste in defense. And I want to redirect the waste that's in defense towards boots on the ground, towards modern equipment, towards an updated Air Force, and towards a larger Navy. So there's work we're going to have to do with the monies we have, but I'm not going to be cutting defense. Number two, the second bucket is about the same size. It's what you call the rest of discretionary spending. It's everything government does besides payments through Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and interest. And that 20% piece is going to have to be pulled way, way, way back. We're going to have to cut that dramatically, program by program. There's a lot of opportunity there. But that alone doesn't get us to a balanced budget anytime soon. So we finally have to go after the last 60% and look at that carefully to make sure that what we're doing with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, the last 60%, these entitlements and interest, that those elements are maintained with fiscal responsibility, so we never have to worry about those programs becoming bankrupt. Seniors should never have any concern about that. And actually, people coming up, younger people, shouldn't worry about those programs being gone either. And what we're going to have to do is make sure that we put those programs on a pathway to sustainability and towards a reasonable level of spending, such that people know we have the funds necessary to honor the promises we're making, not only to seniors, but also to young people coming behind them. So I focus my efforts on discretionary spending and on our entitlements to make sure those programs are sustainable and fiscally responsible. Hope that answers the question. And finally, the fifth question from David Pulfus of Englewood, Colorado. How will you use your business experience to lower unemployment numbers? Well, I began with that. And let me just tick off a couple of things. And it's because it's a bit of a list, but just one by one. One, our taxes are too high on small business and on big business. Number two, our red tape and bureaucratic burdens and regulatory burdens are too high. We make it too hard to start a business and to grow a business. Number three, we shouldn't be sending $500 billion a year outside the country buying energy. We've got to become energy independent. That'll help. If we put that $500 billion back in the U.S., that creates a lot of jobs right here. Number 4, trade policies. Our trade policies haven't made a lot of sense. As we trade with other nations, and that's important to us, we have to recognize that these policies have to protect our interests as well as the interests of people with whom we trade. And so if we're going to have a great relationship with China as a trading partner, then they're going to have to agree to honor our intellectual property. Because a lot of what we sell around the world, like software, pharmaceuticals, entertainment products, is based on intellectual property. And we expect them to honor those things. And if they don't, they shouldn't have as favored a status with us as nations that do. They also have to float their currency, so they're not pricing our products at a disadvantage. Those are just a beginning list of things you do to the business sector, but let's not forget one more, and that is government. If government is too big and deficits are so large that investors around the world don't have confidence in America, if they don't have confidence in America, they won't invest in America. Entrepreneurs won't, Americans won't, foreign entities won't. And if that happens, we can't create jobs. So we got to do all those things and more to make sure that we strengthen once again the foundations of our economy so we can start creating jobs again. And then finally, I'd just say this, which is you have to go from an administration that doesn't like business and that doesn't trust business to an administration that says, you know what, small business and entrepreneurs and pioneers and even big businesses, that is the foundation of an economy that allows people to have good jobs, good wages, good incomes, and to know that their future is secure. So you guys, again, I want to thank you for spending some time with me on Facebook today. Thanks for 900,000 folks friending me and my effort. I know that some of you are just tuning in from time to time, but I hope you'll keep in touch. I'd love it if a few of you guys would make a contribution today. This is a big kickoff for us of our fundraising effort. It's kind of a celebration. You can, I presume, see behind me here the folks that have gathered here in Las Vegas at the convention center. They're collecting checks of $10, $5, all the way up to $2,500. And it'd mean a great deal to me if you'd be willing to make a contribution just today. Go on our website, mittromney.com, click on donate, put in a credit card number. You'll even get airline miles for it. But do it today. It's important to me that we get that started, that ball rolling today. So again, thanks for your time. Appreciate the chance to be with you. And you'll be hearing a lot more from me. Bye-bye.